Live stream. All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight for this presentation. My name is Nicole Weber, and I am the founder and principal of Weber Consulting. We are handling the outreach and zoning for the River District site. I am also an investor and partner of the River District Neighborhood Investors LLC, also referred to as RDNI. We were selected in 2021 by the board of the New Orleans Ernest N. Morial Convention Center to develop the 27 acres of vacant land along Chapatula Street and Convention Center Boulevard. Later on, there will be maps to view so we can further discuss the exact boundaries of the River District. Joining us is Todd James, Director of Strategic Planning for Broadmoor. He will also be presenting and addressing your questions at the end. Our proposal that we submitted in 2020 was for a neighborhood, and the pandemic has emphasized the importance and sustainability of neighborhoods. We have a shorter video to introduce to the other members of our team and the vision of the River District, which I will be playing in a few minutes. The majority of our team resides in New Orleans, and we bring experience and foresight with the understanding of what works to promote a diverse neighborhood for all. We call the convention center's development site the River District. However, it is still very much a part of the Lower Garden District. And the reason we are starting outreach with the neighbors and property owners within 600 feet of the River District. The purpose of this virtual meeting is to provide information about our planning efforts and how we will proceed in the coming months to move the pre-development process forward. We invite your input and encourage you to ask questions. Following the presentation, we'll post a link of the recorded presentation on riverdistrictnola.com. So if everybody can get out your pens and write that down, riverdistrictnola.com. And there's also a link you'll see in the caption of this YouTube video below. So if you have any questions or comments, you can click on the link and submit your questions and comments. At the end of the presentation, we will go through your questions and respond. If you think of a question after the presentation, you can definitely submit your questions or comments through our website. A team member will respond within 72 hours. Let's get started on the video, and the live presentation will follow.
What is the one ingredient, the one flavor, the one aroma that has made New Orleans cuisine renowned throughout the world? What note, imbued in our music, caused it to become the melody of America? And what is it in the way shadows fall against the walls here that elevates our heritage to an art form? How did all the beautifully variant neighborhoods across our region, each with their own unique characteristics, unite to become the regal city that New Orleans is today? There is, in fact, a singular origin to it all, one molded in adversity. It's resilience. You can taste it in our food, you can hear it in our music, you can see it in our neighborhoods. The River District Neighborhood Project is a continuation of those elements that are New Orleans, executed by a group of highly skilled professionals who have been part of this community for generations. Before us is a unique opportunity to take an urban blank canvas and connect it with the neighborhoods and convention facilities around it.
What we're doing has not been done before. We are creating a new New Orleans neighborhood that is distinctive and diverse.
there's an intimacy to the scale of New Orleans that we're very much interested in and in retaining.
We knew that this project was of such significance to the landscape that we would take this project very seriously because it impacted our city.
And impact it will, providing new residences, 450 affordable workforce housing units, 5,900 new jobs, and $43 million in new net annual tax revenue. The River District will be an inclusive, sustainable neighborhood, brought forward by the River District Neighborhood Investors, LLC.
I think a transformative recovery begins with ideas. This project is a big idea. It is equitable by design in terms of the makeup of the development team and the program we intend to deliver.
I think the River District neighborhood is just one of these long overdue, critical, massive area that we need to develop. If we are ever going to talk about truly creating a community that could be self-sufficient, that River District is going to be this last opportunity to really do so.
I've always wanted to be a part of something big, something that was transformative, something that leaves a legacy not just for my family and my interests, but for all New Orleans families.
It's an honor to be amongst a group of folks who are committed to a path to recovery, but most importantly are willing to listen to diverse minds, to listen to people who come from different backgrounds. And to me, that's an honor and a privilege, and the ability to have that is something that I'm very grateful for.
This team is the most diverse team that I have ever seen develop a project in New Orleans. It is diverse in ownership, in the construction participation, and diverse in actual developers with expertise.
This is going to be a signature neighborhood for our community. And first and foremost, that really was what our intent was when we came together, is how do we design an amazing neighborhood?
We bring a unique balance of folks that know how to introduce, whether it be housing, retail, something that's really going to speak to the heart and nature of the community, especially the neighborhood that we're trying to create.
Why do we have cities? Why do cities exist? There are lots of reasons that we want to come together in cities. And so while there have long been impulses in this country of people to sort of flee to the suburbs, there are those cities, and New Orleans is certainly one of them, as is, New York, London, Paris, where there's a very robust and authentic sort of life existing in the cities.
This is arguably the last opportunity the city has to create a transformational project.
This is truly a New Orleans neighborhood, so it will have its own distinctions, but be representative of the character and traditions of our great New Orleans.
This development is an opportunity for a one-of-a-kind mixed-use site that will bring everything you want to see in a neighborhood and more. River District will be a place where commerce meets culture by bringing people, commerce, and culture together in one place. This development sets a standard by converting an underdeveloped area along the Mississippi River into a thriving, walkable, mixed-use neighborhood, an enviable destination. The site is the former Upper Cotton Press District, which is now part of the Lower Garden District. Long ago, there stood gigantic cotton compress warehouses blanketing the riverfront along 2 to 3 blocks of the lakeside of Tchoupitoulas. Located in the former Upper Cotton Press District was the Orleans Cotton Press, which was called the largest of the kind in the world. The cotton press worked by compressing the cotton by steam power to diminish its bulk before embarking to Liverpool and other places. And I want to thank Richard Campanella in his June 6, 2021 NOLA.com article for providing that information. Another major historical player at the site is the Market Street Power Plant. In 1905, the power plant was constructed and billed as the largest electrical generating plant in the South. It burned coal and use the Mississippi River for cooling. In 1922, the plant began producing all the power for the city of New Orleans. In 1973, after 65 years, the plant last produced power and became a backup source. Then in 1984, the plant officially closed. The development will pay homage to the inherent qualities of the site's industrial past, while establishing a distinct new identity relevant to today's residents and visitors. The following characteristics will be expressed throughout the River District: an industrial aesthetic, materiality that is heavy and durable, simplicity and quality, a neighborhood in which the architecture is timeless in character and design, native plantings and local building materials to enhance the neighborhood's sense of place and its cultural heritage. The River District will bring life to a vast and vacant land along the riverfront by introducing a mixed-use community with sidewalks, bike paths, and green space. The new River District will revitalize the riverfront as an energetic hub of commerce and trade, history and culture, and community. The zoning mechanism we will use to accomplish this is a text amendment to an existing height overlay district within the comprehensive zoning ordinance for the city of New Orleans. The text amendment will allow us to incorporate building standards and design, as well as promote neighborhood-friendly uses within the area outlined here. The underlying zoning is a mixed use 2, or MU2. We are eliminating some of the more industrial and agricultural uses that the underlying zoning permits in order to plan and develop a neighborhood with emphasis on amenities. In the background, you will see aerial footage of the development site as it looks today. In order to create a neighborhood, we will need to create specific zoning regulations within the comprehensive zoning ordinance. And to do this, we are starting with you, our neighbors, residents, property owners, businesses, and interested stakeholders. This meeting notice was sent to all residents and property owners within 600 feet of the development site, so we can introduce the project and the zoning process to you first. We are collecting your questions and input, which will be part of the application to the City Planning Commission. City Planning staff will review our application and will make a recommendation on our text amendment to the City Planning Commission. The staff's recommendation will be considered by the City Planning Commission at one of their public meetings. City Planning Commission will vote on the request, and their recommendation will then be forwarded to City Council for review and consideration as well. City Council has the final say-so. The current comprehensive zoning ordinance does not contemplate planned developments of this scale, as there are very few sites of this size ripe for development in the city. So creating an overlay district with specific zoning regulations for the River District is necessary to plan the site, which is altogether over 40 acres. Here we have some online tools provided to us by the City Planning Commission. We have the City Planning Commission website, which you can find at nola.gov/CPC. It hosts important documents and tools such as CPC meeting agendas, videos, staff reports, and the comprehensive zoning ordinance and the city's master plan. The comprehensive zoning ordinance is also available at czo.nola.gov. There's also a helpful website. It's noticeme.nola.gov. It allows you to personalize notifications that will email you to inform you of opportunities for public input on proposed land use changes. Anyone who registers will receive regular notices for upcoming projects. You can do this per neighborhood or several neighborhoods. You select the area that you want to receive notice for. There's also the One Stop app. This pulls up-to-date information directly from the city's official records. It helps you locate information about permits, licenses, planning projects, and so on. Also, there is a place where you can initiate applications for many types of permits. Property viewer. The city provides zoning and land use information for all properties and displays layers of information that include the master plan's future land use map, zoning districts, historic districts, and zoning overlay districts. And that is property.nola.gov. And at the end of the presentation, I will have this information up again in case you've missed any of those websites. The River District will be a unique and extraordinary experience for visitors and residents. The project is estimated to bring 5,900 new jobs in growing key industries, 500,000 square feet of entertainment space, 450 units of affordable and workforce housing, which will represent over 50% of all new rentals on site. Also, the project is projected to have 140,000 square feet of retail and restaurant space, 250,000 square feet of office space, 150 senior living residences, and roughly 3,800 parking spaces. The River District is more than just an urban revitalization. It will transform a versatile 27-acre footprint into a mixed-use planned community. The River District believes that there is an unparalleled opportunity for residential, retail, arts and culture, entertainment, green space, and office. The River District will make sure to put infrastructure in place for ground-up construction, incorporate underground utilities, sustainable technology, and stormwater management. Stormwater management is on the forefront of the development and a major part of our infrastructure. The River District will be diverse, sustainable, and dynamic neighborhood, serving as a model for how neighborhoods can be responsibly built and function. It will be the new New Orleans and will offer world-class restaurants, curated local and national shops, culture and art with an abundance of public exhibits, interactive installments, and green space bringing people together along the Mississippi River. Which brings us to our next topic, is how the neighborhood will look and feel. We value sustainability and a dynamic urban feel. We plan to incorporate pedestrian-oriented streetscapes, meaning our dedicated green space and rights-of-way are pedestrian-friendly and promote walkability, bikeability, and urban placemaking, while linking the development to the Central Business District, the Warehouse District, and the Lower Garden District. We plan to have a multimodal transportation approach as a transit-oriented development. By prioritizing pedestrian and bike-friendly rights-of-way, the community will be welcoming and inclusive. Currently, a traffic study is underway, which will result in a traffic plan. Our green spaces will facilitate a community feel throughout by including parks and gardens with art installments throughout for all to enjoy. Like any neighborhood in New Orleans, our food is our culture. So design is important when creating places for people to gather and enjoy a good meal. Through the elements of surprise, a walk in the River District will be more than just a shopping experience, but a place to explore and love. Our mid-rise buildings will range from 4 to 6 floors and will maintain an industrial style, which aligns with the history of the area. Our high-rise buildings are above 6 floors. Taller buildings will be focused and concentrated along the river. The River District will establish a new pedestrian-oriented streetscape that celebrates New Orleans culture and heritage, showcases local art, and includes a variety of green spaces, retail, restaurants, entertainment venues, and unique urban experiences that will delight locals and visitors alike. Here is the framework building in the 1300 block of Magazine Street. It's a good example of how the River District will look and feel by combining use of space, landscaping, and walkability. Now, Todd James, who I introduced at the beginning, will discuss streetscape visioning at the River District. Todd, you're there?
Yeah, thank you, Nicole. So one thing to appreciate, let's advance to the next slide, is a focus on how we intend to connect the River District to the Convention Center. What you see highlighted, it shows the outline of the River District, and more importantly, how Convention Center Boulevard and the new extension of it, connecting it through the district, will be established. Next slide. This graphic gives you a better sense of how the River District can help to expand the existing linear park that has been recently completed at the Convention Center. One of the key things we intend on expanding is the walkability and the connection of multimodal corridors. One thing you'll notice is that we do continue the 2 lanes of traffic with a central strip, which we refer to as a rumble strip, which will allow for emergency vehicles to still ingress and egress through our development, but also still remain some level of access throughout the continuation of Convention Center Boulevard. Next slide. What you see here is a graphic representation of how we will be able to maintain some connectivity with what we plan to develop within the individual parcels, but more importantly, allow those buildings to connect seamlessly to the right-of-way through ramps and other step elevations, making something that's more of an elegant progression from the building to a streetway. Next slide. This image also gives you an overall overhead view, which helps to show how we could use this extended right-of-way and street section to do stormwater retention. Once again, extension of multimodal corridors, allowing for bicycle access, as well as expansion of how food and beverage may be able to extend onto this sidewalk, and allowing for a different experience that we don't usually get to see throughout New Orleans. Next slide. What you see here is a representation of how we intend to establish the reconnection of UTURP and Race Streets. One key element that was a requirement of the development was the preservation or creation of this new right-of-way in alignment with the existing openings at the flood wall. What you'll see on the next slide shows a graphic representation of how both of those streets can be developed, again, carrying the same fabric that we mentioned on Convention Center Boulevard, where you could have an extension of food and beverage establishments being able to have seating areas within that new condition, but more importantly, maintain a minimum level of traffic impact within the district, but more promoting a walkable access route throughout the development. The next slide shows from a personal level how this experience will be, but more importantly, showing that we're still going to be able to protect and provide some level of on-street parking, but more importantly, focus on the pedestrian experience. Again, this is just another aerial view, and what you'll see here, this also helps to establish how some of the building massing will be able to be broken up along Race and UTURP Street, with an important aspect of mid-block access. So when we talk about parking garages behind some of these buildings, we're able to create those experiences where it's not the focal point, but make the experience of the pedestrian make the experience focused at the pedestrian level. All right, back to you, Nicole, right for continuing.
Thank you, Todd. A breath of fresh air for New Orleans. The River District will be truly transformative for the city. Prime underutilized property along the Mississippi River will be cultivated into a dynamic, walkable, mixed-use destination that represents the city's rich cultural heritage while pointing to its bright and innovative future. As I mentioned earlier, the area outlined with the dotted lines represents the boundaries of the River District zoning, which will be accomplished through a text amendment creating an overlay district. The area in purple is approximately 27 acres and contains the parcels owned by the Convention Center, which we are tasked to develop. The Market Street Power Plant site, highlighted in pink, was recently purchased by 2 of our development partners and part of the River District. The area in gray labeled future development to the right of the River District's parcels are also owned by the Convention Center and currently not under our purview. However, we are incorporating these 2 parcels along the 4 parcels above the Market Street Power Plant into the text amendment, so that future development of these sites will be cohesive and consistent with the rest of the neighborhood. Finally, we want to re-emphasize that our development and plan will always remain part of the Lower Garden District. The River District identifies the area of new development, and the overlay district that sets forth the zoning standards for the specific area. Here is a bird's eye view as an example of how building heights will be scaled, with shorter mid-rise buildings along Tchoupitoulas. Taller high-rise buildings will be located along the riverfront portion of the site to allow for more height and density closer to the river. At the top and middle area of the map is parcel 1A, which is located above or the west or lake side of Tchoupitoulas. This will be the first parcel to develop, and the development follows the zoning regulations of the underlying MU2 zoning district. We have received questions on construction and when we expect to break ground. Although there is much to do in terms of the pre-development, including infrastructure, ideally, we would like to start construction on parcel 1A sometime in 2023. And that anticipated construction timeframe would be approximately 18 to 24 months. Here's an aerial view of what parcel 1A looks like. It abuts the Soleil Apartments that you can see on the rear of the parcel and to the left of the parcel. And here is parcel 1A as developed. And this is a conceptual concept planning or conceptual drawing. Parcel 1A will be phase 1 of our development. It will consist of residential and commercial. We are planning for 280 residential units and 740 parking spaces. It is allowed by right under the current zoning. And Todd will now discuss more about the connectivity between the west and east sides of Tchoupitoulas.
So what's really important to understand from this graphic, you'll notice that there's the concept of a linear park that is developed in front of phase 1A, or in front of parcel 1A, excuse me. That is actually created because there's an overhead servitude agreement that already exists for the existing Entergy power lines that exist. We took advantage of this through the design process and came up with the linear park concept, which allows us to make a harder part of connectivity for the pedestrian experience through parcel 1A and with our future parcel 1B. Now, what's really important is to understand on the next slide is how you see a graphic representation of the corner of UTERP and Tchoupitoulas. At that intersection is where we're looking to make some level of connectivity to the later phases on the opposite side of Tchoupitoulas headed towards the river. But it's still important to understand that this development core can actually help to work as a centralized hub at the intersection of Tchoupitoulas and Henderson Streets, which has the existing traffic light. That will help to make a more of a hub and spoke concept in order to make this development work a little bit more seamlessly.
All right, thank you, Todd. So the River District Neighborhood Investors LLC includes a diverse group of development partners with deep local roots, all accomplished mixed use and residential developers with local, regional, and national experience, unparalleled reputations, and strong financial results. The team includes Lauricella Land, Brian Gibbs Development, JCH Properties, VPG Enterprise, CLB Porter, and Weber Consulting, and is augmented by the national powerhouse Cypress Equities. Affiliates and advisors are Bow Brothers, Broadmoor, and Gibbs Construction. They provide ample construction horsepower for the project. Gensler, the master planner, guides the collective vision, ensuring the River District will be a neighborhood for all. You've seen the logos for our companies, and now here are our faces. We are 25% African American ownership interest and 20% women ownership interest. With the exception of Cypress Equities, we are all locals. We are your neighbors. All right. So now we are getting to the final page, and then we will end the presentation, but the meeting does not end. We're going to be going over your questions and responding. But as promised, I wanted to again go over the websites that were mentioned at the beginning of the presentation. That's that City Planning Commission website, the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance, One Stop app, Notice Me.nola.gov, and the Property Viewer. If you need to get in touch with us, you can reach us at riverdistrictnola.com. And there you can also rewatch this presentation and submit questions and comments too. We will now go over the questions and comments that you submitted during the presentation. So let's see, I'm pulling that up on my screen. So just bear with me for a minute. All right, we had addressed this question in the beginning, or sorry, near the end actually. When is the anticipated begin date for construction? And that's from Melanie Palmer. The first phase will begin with parcel 1A, as we mentioned during the presentation. Ideally, the best case scenario would be to break ground in 2023 with construction complete on the parcel by the end, or excuse me, by early 2025. And the construction timeline would be 18 to 24 months approximately. Next question is, when will this development be phased? Will a civil rights museum still be included in the development? And what is the anticipated total development costs? Let's see. Will the development phase? Yes, this is a multi-phase, multi-year development. And starting as we presented with that phase 1A. Let's see, will a civil rights museum be included in the development? Todd, do you want to take over that question?
Yeah, so with regards to the Civil Rights Museum, that was a key part of the programming aspect. That was a requirement from the Convention Center for our response. We're continuing to work with the Convention Center throughout our current negotiations and identify what is the best location to potentially provide a building for that. But one key element we're primarily responsible for based on the RFP was some location and identifying a square footage that is appropriate. We do understand that a program is still being developed for that project. And as that gets further along, we'll be able to provide more information at that time.
All right, and then we have next question. What SEB DBE opportunities will be available for this proposed development? Who will be performing outreach to the SEB DBE community? And for everybody on the call, SEB is Small Emerging Business, and DBE stands for Disadvantaged Business Enterprises. So we will be performing outreach, and yes, there will be definitely development or opportunities will be available for the proposed development for SEB and DBE companies. And we will have, actually on the website, you can go there and submit, if you're interested, you can submit your information so that we can put you on our list if you are a certified or licensed SEB or DBE company. Did you have anything to add, Todd?
Yeah, one thing that's really important to understand right now is that, so within the current development team, we do have some SEB, DBE. We have SEB and DBE participation currently, and that's within a design team, engineering group, as well as other professional services that we're using on a recurring basis right now. On a go-forward basis, once we get into different phases of construction, one thing that we didn't get a chance to mention, we're doing an infrastructure package separate from the development of the future parcels. That infrastructure package will, right now, we're currently working with our construction partners. Bow Brothers is working in tandem with my side on the Broadmoor side to develop that package in our engineering groups. But once we have a better sense of developing that package, we will be able to work with our outreach partners and identify how to package deals in order for folks to submit on through some multiple forms of procurement. So that's something that's actually, we're not there just yet, but once the scopes of works have actually been identified, we'll be able to have a better sense of how to establish opportunities for all to consider. But as I mentioned, that's strictly on the infrastructure side. But once we get into the future development of the other phases, that same opportunity will exist with the identified third-party development group, as well as their intended participation partners through construction and design.
All right, and the next question, this is also from Stephen Kennedy. Will a TIF be sought for this development? And that, Todd, you want to address that?
Yeah, I don't mind touching that one right now. TIFs, we've not identified if we're using a TIF at this time, but all funding sources are something that we're going to consider. So we know that there's a long list of funding opportunities, whether it be working in partnership locally and federally, are out there for us to consider.
All right, and then we just got this question, and I do want to address it because I think it's come up before. Jamie Muller and Richard Landry asked, while excited for the development of this part of the Lower Garden District, I'm concerned about the confusion created by trying to rebrand this area as a separate district. Is the River District merely internal language for development purposes, or something that you will be public facing and long term? So in order to identify the area that the convention center has tasked us to develop, and it also encompasses the area that the zoning mechanism will be applied to, and that's that site plan that we had shown with the dotted lines around it. That area we are calling the River District for branding purposes, but also because we have to name the boundary something, right? We have to name the neighborhood something. So the River District will always be part of the Lower Garden District, but as a separate development, we are calling it the River District. So it will always remain in the Lower Garden District, always identify with the Lower Garden District. Let's see.
In Nicole, while you scan into the next one, if you don't mind, just to give a housekeeping item. So with regards to TIF, when I made that reference earlier, we're talking about tax increment-based financing mechanisms. So just want to give that clarity in terms of the meaning.
Todd, can you repeat that? I'm sorry, one more time, the last sentence.
When I made a reference of TIF, that's tax increment financing. Just want to make sure folks understood exactly what that acronym meant.
Thank you. Let's see, I'm trying to scan through just for time purposes. If you submitted any questions that we haven't gone over, we will get back to you, don't worry. But let's see, New Orleans desperately needs to grow its industries beyond hospitality. How are you planning to alter your vision for the corporate tech campus, given the shift to remote work from home in the business space? All right, so we're talking about how are you planning to alter your vision for the corporate tech campus given the shift to remote work from home in the business space? Todd, do you want to try taking a stab at that?
And I was looking at something else. Just which question was that again? I got my.
So this is New Orleans desperately needs to grow its industries beyond hospitality. Are you planning to alter your vision for the corporate tech campus, given the shift to remote work from home in the business space?
Thank you. No, so yes, actually, that's a big part of what our response was. Our initial RFP response was more focused on creating a neighborhood. So we do understand that there's been a growing metric towards work, live, and play environments. So that's one key element that you'll see, hence why we have such a large amount of residential units proposed, such a large amount of square footage proposed for business function. We understand that technology has evolved and will continue to evolve. And one key thing that we are looking at within our infrastructure package is to identify how to do some level of a smart cities initiative, generating a hub that would allow for more of a larger level of digital interface and higher technology, embracing technology to figure out how to make our neighborhood perform at a different level.
All right, and it says, what do you consider affordable workforce rent? So there's a distinction between, and I guess this is in reference to affordable housing and workforce housing. So it's all based on the area median income, or AMI, and the percentage that a family or a household makes annually. So that determines whether they are eligible for affordable versus workforce rent. And we can get you those exact percentages and what applies to affordable versus workforce housing. Question, let's see. If so this is wondering if an Amazon Fresh Market might be a grocery store option, might Equinox be a gym option? So I can respond to that. I would say that, you know, when we're talking with retailers, certainly would be interested in hearing what a Amazon Fresh Market might have to say, or an Equinox. So if you have any connections with any of those companies, please send them over to us. We will put them in touch with Cypress Equities, who is our development partner, handling the retail side of things. Questions from Linda? In what year do you anticipate the entire project will be completed, all phases? We don't have an exact timeline of when we anticipate to complete all phases, but we are going to move as expeditiously as possible. But, you know, there are factors that come into play as we are only in the, you know, the pre-development phase right now. Okay, and then workforce development, workforce training. So workforce development, workforce training is one of the key components to our project, and something that we are definitely incorporating, not just in the construction phase, but also as a permanent institution within the neighborhood. What will be the area of square footage in the living spaces for the first 450 housing? Square footage of living space. So I guess that would be the unit size of the units. I don't have an answer for that, but we can get back to you on that one.
Just a real quick note on that. I mean, there are minimum baseline standards, I think, from somewhere as low as 750 square foot per unit, which could average up to different height, average up to a different number based on the bedroom count. But right now, that's something that we're still working through programmatically to identify what that final number would be. But we're more focused on the unit count at this time as opposed to square footage.
Great. I think that is it. If for whatever reason, there's a couple of comments that we skipped over that are lengthy, but we will get back to you on those. But we tried to go through the questions as best as possible. So please continue sending your questions and comments to us, and we will respond. Thank you so much for joining us. And on behalf of the River District investors, we thank you for your time and look forward to working with you more in the future.
Nicole, I think I saw one last question pop up that I don't mind just being able to address since they asked this.
Go for it.
I'm seeing that another question did pop up with regards to improving the streetscape into Ray Street and beyond religious. So what we did mention earlier was our improvements inside of Race and at Race, as well as UTERP. Once we get beyond that point, within the River District's limited footprint, we're only touching the right of ways within those areas. That's basically what we can do. What we are still looking at is through our partnership with some of our part of our development team is involved with the Market Street team. We are looking at expanding and improving some of the right of ways around that property. But at this time, that's the limits of where we can reach.
Right. Todd, anything else that you wanted to add?
I think that's good for now. I know folks are gonna always have questions. Let's see, actually something else popped up. Have traffic studies been conducted on the surrounding areas? So that's actually something that's more within what I'm focused on right now. If you are driving around that area, you may notice that there are some traffic study equipment uh, performing services there now. We are looking at that, and one key element we want to focus on uh, with a strong partnership element with not just the convention center, Port of New Orleans, and the city, is how we can improve the traffic along Chapatulas, and particularly how with Chapatulas interacts with Calliope underneath the elevated US 90. So right now, we're still working through that. We have our traffic engineers working pretty hard, and most of the members on that team know I've been applying a lot of pressure to them to make sure we really come up with a good scenario and system that'll help improve some of the layout around that area. But one key element within this traffic study is we want to help to promote that walkability component again. So whatever we could do to direct cars into the site and ask for people to walk, enjoy the district, connect to the warehouse district, connect even going back towards downtown through Convention Center Boulevard. We want to promote that as much as possible, and those traffic studies will help us to direct that design intent.
All right. I don't see any new questions coming in right now. We are on a bit of a delay as we're populating the questions, but again, if you submit questions that we haven't responded to, we will get back with you. But I think we have gone over the majority of those questions that have been submitted. And we appreciate your input. Thank you for your time, and look forward to working with you more and hosting more of these meetings, hopefully in person in the coming future. All right. Y'all have a good night. Thank you.